Right.
Let's get started. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the MicDrop Podcast. It's your boy Alex Wardu. Again, make sure you subscribe. Follow us on IG. Our IG page is MicDrop Podcast, and our Twitter is at Drop the Damn Mic. Make sure you go on all social media. Links will be in the description down below. We got a special guest, then music producer Tyler August, man.
What's up? How's it going?
It's going good. It's going good. Yeah, it's been a busy day for me the last couple of days, but trying to get back into the music grind. I took like a long break from making music, so there's always that.
Sometimes it's good to take a little break and come back fresh.
Yeah, definitely, bro. Definitely.
For sure. And you're in Austin, right?
I'm in Austin. Yeah, I actually saw that you were in Austin too.
Yeah, I lived in Austin, so I was actually stationed at Fort Hood, like an hour north in Killeen. And then when I got out of the Army, I was living in Austin that last year, and then just stayed until 2021, so I moved out here to Miami.
Okay. How was life in the military? Because I was in the Navy Reserve. A lot of people know that.
So, okay. Nice. What did you do in the Navy?
I was a Master at Arms.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, it was good. I did 4 years at West Point, commissioned as an officer. I got recruited to play tennis, actually. It was between there and the Air Force Academy, and ended up going with West Point. And, commissioned as an officer, did my officer basic course at Fort Lee, Virginia, and then did like airborne school, Fort Benning, got to jump out some planes and stuff. And then I was stationed at Fort Hood for pretty much my whole time. Did about 9 months in Afghanistan, a little deployment out there. Okay. And really cool experience. Like the leadership aspect was a lot of fun. You just get thrown in, and you're in charge of a whole platoon as a second lieutenant, and got to figure it all out.
Yeah, that's crazy. Like me, I didn't really get deployed anywhere. I was just on base because I was in Fort Worth, so didn't really get to experience much of anything really. But yeah, like how was that though? Like, going to Afghanistan and stuff. Like, how was that?
It was like, honestly, dude, it was like the best adventure of my life. There were obviously some sketchy times. I found out so a lot of units, like they know like a year down the road that they're going to be going on deployment. I actually got moved into a unit that was going. I found out a month before I deployed. So I had a month to like move out of my house, like get everything in order, like make my will, like all these things, and met my platoon literally on the plane to go to Afghanistan. And we were stationed at a small little base outside of Kandahar Airfield called Bob Walton. And our job was actually, so this is like 2012 and 2013 when Obama was really focusing on getting us out of Afghanistan. So our job was to go to these small little combat outposts via convoys or patrols, flying helicopters everywhere. We'd meet up with these, sometimes it was a little platoon in the backyard of some grape farmer, and we'd help them close down whatever equipment they had and stuff and get it all shipped back into our base. We would resort it. So I actually got to be part of 27 base closures there. So I got to see a lot of the country, which was a blessing, honestly, because a lot of infantry platoons, these guys have one village that they're operating in the whole time, and I got to see half the country. So It was cool. And like I said, a couple sketchy times, but we all made it home, brought everybody back. So that's what matters.
Yeah. As long as you made it back in one piece, man, that's all that really matters, man.
Yeah, appreciate it. Yeah.
Crazy times.
Yeah, crazy. You feel really alive, that's for sure. You're appreciative of every day.
Yeah, absolutely, bro. Absolutely. So so you go from that to music. What was the transition from that to music?
Definitely, yeah. So I actually grew up as a drummer. My dad was a drummer, and when I was 4, I knew he had a box of drums in the garage, and I was just like, hey, I want to play, get these out. And so I started playing drums, and then piano and guitar in middle school, high school, and I was actually really into recording since I was a kid. So I got, first I was recording on a boombox, and then I got a Fostex 16-track recorder, and I would record bands, my own band and all that. So while I was at West Point, we got our Cal loan, it's called, your junior year. You get a loan, so maybe you can buy a car when you go into the Army and all that. And the first thing I did was go to the Apple store and buy a MacBook Pro so I could start recording on GarageBand.
Yeah.
And so while I was a lieutenant, like me and my roommate, actually, he was my buddy on the tennis team, and then we got stationed together. We started a rap duo, and we were actually like performing around Austin. And yeah, so I was doing all of our production, and I'm not the best rapper in the world, but like it was a good time, and we had fun energy. It was kind of like Beastie Boys style, more or less. And I was also like, you know, I had some soldiers that rapped. Like I had a couple civilian contractors in Afghanistan that rapped on the side. So I'd be making beats in the tent, and they'd be like freestyling over it and stuff. So I knew like when I got out, like I was going full time into music. Like I had too many early mornings, tired of shaving every day. Like I was like dedicated, like this is going to happen when I get out. So when I got out of the Army, that's when I went straight into an engineering apprenticeship. So have you heard of the program called Recording Connection?
No.
It's a really good setup. So I was looking at like Full Sail and some of these other music schools, and this one just seemed the best to me because you actually get partnered up with like your mentor that's a head engineer at a studio. And since I was in production, I wanted to learn more about the engineering side. So when I was in Austin, I don't know if you've heard of Fifth Street Studios, but it's just catty corner to the Whole Foods downtown. Great studio, really cool setup. And Evan there, one of the head engineers, he was my mentor. And I went through this whole program. Like you have a syllabus and, you know, you sit in on tons of sessions, kind of like an intern more or less. And he and I became really good friends. And then I just kind of worked my way into like being able to produce for artists at the studio. And I started like running their social media to help grow their Instagram and all that. So that was really like my first experience of figuring out how to make it in the industry was that mentorship right there.
Okay. That's dope. Okay. I know that. Okay,
yeah, man, cool. It was a really cool setup. Great way to get your foot in the door.
Definitely. So with that, so were you doing like electronic music at that time, or was it just strictly just hip hop music?
It was like both. So, I mean, my two passions are like making like instrumental, electronic, lo-fi, and then making beats for artists. So I was doing both at the same time. You know, I came out with a couple singles, starting to get stuff on Spotify. Had some good SoundCloud traction for a while, but then they changed up their groups, and then that just kind of died. So I was like, all right, I got to do this more professionally, get on Spotify, Apple Music, and all that. And, you know, put out an album, a couple different things. And meanwhile, I was working with tons of artists and producing for them.
Okay. Who have you been able to work with around that time? Like, who were some artists that you like that, you know, are memorable to you that you like to work with?
Yeah, definitely. Out of Austin, I was working with a rap duo called The Bio, and two guys. I mean, they were amazing. You have Dominique and Jose, and like they both like really contrast each other, and they were super quick in the studio because like while I was still interning more or less, we needed to have practical like lab sessions more or less. So we would invite them in, and I'd have some beats, or I'd like whip up a beat on the spot, and they'd be writing like as I'm still coming up with like the melody, whatever. And by the time I'm done with the beat, they've got a song. They're like, all right, let's jump in and go. So they were super cool to work with because they would just come up with stuff so quick, and they wrote like deep music. You know, it wasn't just like for the club. It was like telling their story. And I always was a big fan of like Kendrick and Nipsey Hussle, like guys like really speaking and, you know, telling their life story and all that. So that's how these guys were, and they were awesome to work with. Couple others, like we had King Soul on a track, really good dude, got like a super like deep voice. Buddy Cheeks, another one, Pete Stone. Yeah, those are the ones that come off the top of my head in Austin.
Okay. So were you born and raised in Austin?
No. So my dad was in the Army as well. He got out when I was 4, but we just kept moving. So I moved 14 times before my freshman year of high school. So born in Illinois, lived in Germany, New York, South Florida, San Antonio, California, Chicago, Virginia, North Carolina was my high school year. So North Carolina is still like home. Okay. But yeah, all over the place.
Yeah, I know how that goes, man. I know how that goes. Like even with me, like I was in Cali. Well, I didn't move like that many times, but when I was in Cali, like I moved around a lot of different places in Cali. But after that, you know, after more year in Cali, I moved to Alabama to go to Hoover High School, and I came back to Cali, and then I moved to Texas. So it's not as many states as you were saying, countries, obviously, but
but you know how it is. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Having to readjust, be the new kid.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah.
Nice.
So, who are some like musical inspirations that kind of got you to do that you're specifically doing? Like, who are some of those artists?
Yeah, I have to say the one that jumps out to me would be Ryan Leslie. Are you familiar with his stuff?
Yeah. That's interesting though. Why Ryan Leslie though?
Because he does everything like organically. Like he plays the piano, then he gets on the drums. Like there's this one YouTube video. It's the 5-minute freshen up video. If you haven't seen it, like go watch it after this. It's so good. He starts with like an idea in his voice memo, and he just gets the idea out. And then he like plays the keys to it, and then he plays the drums, the bass, like plays everything. And then he gets on the mic like right after that. And like me being a drummer, playing guitar and piano, like I love to see that like organic production style. Mm-hmm. And that's what he was always about with a lot of stuff. I mean, he's a master on the keys, So Ryan Leslie, like producing wise, like I mean, yeah, he's the GOAT to me.
Okay. Like just as a producer, you think he's like one of the GOATs?
Yeah, as a producer for sure. And I mean, music wise, I grew up on everything. Like Zion I is like one of my favorite hip hop groups. Like Silly Putty and Finger Pain are like some of my favorite songs ever. Of course, like discovered Tupac and Biggie early in the Kazaa days and like downloaded a bunch of their stuff growing up. And I got really big into like Eminem, the Eminem Show album when I was a freshman living out in the Bay Area. And then like Good Kid, Mad City is like one of my all-time favorites. Like I just love like the vocal production, the storytelling, like the beats by Dre, of course, are just nuts.
Right.
So, and then, outside of hip hop too, like I grew up on a lot of Chili Peppers, like Counting Crows, Eagles. I don't know if you've heard of Iron Butterfly, but they have this one like drum solo that's like 17 minutes long. And
17 minutes.
that was like one of the first things I learned as a kid, So a little bit of everything, some Garth Brooks here and there too.
Okay. It's pretty versatile, Okay.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
Okay. Who would you say are if you were to make like a Mount Rushmore of producers, who would be on that Mount Rushmore for you personally?
For sure. So we got Ryan Leslie, definitely. Timbaland's got to be on there. I mean, I actually had a chance to meet him at the studio a couple weeks ago, which was pretty awesome for me. Yeah, he was doing a session with Nelly Furtado. It was actually the track that they ended up getting Timberlake on. And they were doing like the first half of that. They were having a session here at Rebel 11. I wasn't like in the session, but I was there and got to meet him and stuff. It was really cool. But then I'd say Rick Rubin has to be up there. Dr. Dre. I mean, some of like the basic answers, but I mean, they're cliche for a reason because they're so great. Yeah. And I really love the producer for Zion I, Amp Live. Like he had like his beat on Silly Putty, like really made me interested in like hip hop production. Like hearing that alone was like, damn, I want to figure this out.
Right. Okay. I mean, I don't hear a lot of people. I don't hear a lot of people say Rick Rubin. What about Rick Rubin for you? Would put him on that level? Obviously, I know he's Rick Rubin, but like what? Like what's the reasoning behind it?
I think it's the versatility for me, and it's also like really interesting. He kind of comes from a different background where like he doesn't play instruments. Like he's not a vocalist. He just has like an amazing ear and just knows what is going to resonate with people. Plus like his versatility. I mean, he's done, stuff with the Chili Peppers and like country and of course all the stuff with Jay-Z and Beastie Boys. And like, he's like, just music. I mean, so like he's done like metal stuff. I mean, I think just like the fact that he's just done everything is so cool to me.
Right. Okay. What are your thoughts on, just music in general, like the landscape of music, even now, even like how it was back then, with, when artists like, Tupac, Biggie, even NWA, what do you think about the music landscape in 2023? Do you think it's like more saturated? Do you think it kind of all sounds the same now, or it's just promoted heavily?
Yeah, it's a great question, Alex. I mean, I have like two schools of thought. Like one, I think we're in we have the most opportunity that we've ever had, being that anybody can buy a USB mic for $50 or even record on their phone and have like studio quality recordings, being able to share it with anybody through social media, make your own music videos. Like the DIY capabilities are amazing now. And before you used to have to send thousands just to get like a demo recorded. So I think that's great. And of course that does lead to saturation. I think on the downside, I feel like a lot of artists, especially the younger artists, are really focused on like what's going to perform well with the algorithm. So you see a lot of like minute 30 songs, and albums are really like, don't put out an album. You got to put out singles first until you're to a certain level. That I don't love so much, because sometimes, like, even if you are a new artist, like putting out a nice packaged body of work is really cool. So I think that side is, I hope, the pendulum always swings. Maybe we'll get back to more like big bodies of work and not worrying about what the algorithm is going to do. But at the same time, if people want to, they want to make it in this industry, you got to play by some of the parameters here, and you got to do what works too. So I think it's just a balance of everything. You gotta you gotta do what's right, but also keep like the love of the art first and foremost.
Yeah, because like I agree with that a lot. I think a lot of why people say that is because it is being pushed out. I feel like a lot of kind of isn't as promoted as much as far as like the mainstream. But I know a lot of talented artists, even in Austin, that like if they just had the right platform, the right push, I mean, they could be just as good, if not better, than a lot of people that
Austin's got some serious talent.
Yeah.
Sorry to cut you off, but yeah, I mean, what I like about a lot of the Austin artists is I feel like they put a lot of like realness into their music. And for me, I like the chiller stuff. I like slower beats with rappers really like talking and like putting some like real knowledge and experience into their lyrics. And I feel like other places, maybe not so much, but I think Austin definitely has a lot of talent. Like, have you heard of Jay Soulja out of Austin?
Who?
Jay Soulja.
Jay Soulja.
I'll send you some of his stuff. He's really good, and he's one of those where I feel like if he just had, a label behind him or the right platform, like he really has the sound to blow up. But it's there's a lot more that goes into it than just the music, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. What do you think about artists that are like big proponents of being like an independent artist? Like they make that an emphasis, like I'm independent, I engineer, I produce all by myself, I do it, no help, no nothing. Like how important do you think that is in 2023?
Yeah, I mean, I think you got to be smart, of course. Like if somebody's going to offer you a deal, of course, have a lawyer look at it, like make sure you're not signing your life away for the next 10 years. Make sure that the label actually like values you. There's cases out there where people want to sign you literally just to shelf you because you compete with one of their top artists. So I think being smart about how you play it is good, and having ownership is good. But at the same time, like, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. That's the saying. And having a team is really crucial. And, I've been fortunate to be in some rooms with some really like top executives, and they're like, yeah, like a 360 deal, we are taking a percentage of ownership, but it's because we have this platform and we're going to put a whole team behind you. So I think, in a lot of artists' careers, you probably get to a point where now you've built all the organic traction you can, you've reinvested as much as you can. Now it's time to maybe make that switch, like do a distribution deal. Like that's what Mac Miller did. He was pretty much independent. I mean, he was with ID Labs, but eventually the time was right where a label could help out, get it out to a bigger audience and really push you, but you can still maintain most of your ownership.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's why I appreciate, platforms like United Masters. I think United Masters is brilliant. I know artists that have a big following that are probably some of the biggest artists in the world, and they're on the United Masters, like Brent Faiyaz. He's on United Masters, and he's I knew about Brent Faiyaz.
Heard of him, actually.
Oh, you haven't?
No.
He's like he's like an R&B singer, and he's made songs. Well, he blew up in 2017, and I think he was signed at that time, but like obviously he had like a lot of issues with his label and stuff. So since then, he's kind of been a big proponent of like being an independent artist, and he signed to United Masters as a way to like have leverage. You know what I'm saying? And you know how it is.
Yeah.
But he's like a really really big artist though, like an artist you wouldn't think of him to sign to like a United Masters. So um, yeah, I think stuff like that is really important. I think how important do you think leverage is too in the music industry?
That's a great point, and that ties in with this. I think getting yourself to a position where you've invested into your brand, you've built out the catalog, you've made all the traction you can yourself. So when you do approach a label or vice versa, you can say like, look what I've done, look what my streaming revenue is I'm bringing to the table. It's going to take a certain level of advance to take a certain percentage of what I do, because of course, like I mean, labels are looking. They're a bank that they're looking to invest.
Mhm.
So the more leverage you can build, the better. Because if you come out like a lot of artists just think, hey, I'm just gonna put up one song on Spotify. Some label's gonna hear it. They're gonna love it. They're gonna believe in me, and they're just gonna put everything into it. It's like it's not how it works anymore. Like you've got to build out that credibility. I mean, like Macklemore is another good example of that. Like he did so much independently, and a lot of people don't know of any of his music before Thrift Shop, which honestly is not a good representation of his actual sound. He had like some really good, like
Yeah.
deep, like hip hop before that, and but he built the leverage. So when it was time, like the label took it and ran with it, and that was a good setup.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think leverage is really key, and that's what to me it's like all about timing in your career too. That you've built at least enough leverage that you're not going to get taken advantage of.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's like a really big part, and I've seen it. I'm a musician, obviously at a lower level a little bit, but but even
Yeah.
with me in my situation, like I'm signed to Bentley Records, it's an independent
Okay.
label out of New York.
Oh, nice.
The splits are good for me; they're very favorable. I can drop when I want, can drop unlimited
That's the key.
singles, EPs, stuff like that. So. Um, and then it's like like they could do a little bit more, obviously. It's not perfect, but it does have a lot of features to help me as an artist, just get my brand to where I need it to be, so that when a label
That's
hits
key.
me up, I have leverage. So um
Exactly, man. Well, good for you. Yeah, it sounds like a good setup, at least for now, where I think like creative control is so important because you're going to lose all passion if like someone's always breathing down your neck and telling you what to do, looking over your shoulder. Like
yeah.
that takes away the love for it. So if you're able to move the way you want to, and then they believe in your vision and support you, then that's like a perfect marriage.
Yeah, yeah, and I hate being controlled and being able to oh, you got to drop here. Like, I just hate that. You can't rush the musical
Yeah.
process. There's just so much that goes into it. The business aspect. All of that.
Exactly. And especially after like being in the Navy, like you've been, where, you don't get a whole
Yeah.
lot of say, like you kind of want to go the other way and you want to have control over your life. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. Who are
Yeah.
some like dream artists that you would love to work with?
Hmm. Let's see. Trying to go for like current right now. Um, I really like Meek Mill stuff.
Hmm.
Um,
Okay.
Kendrick is still like a big one for me. Schoolboy Q, like a lot of the TDE guys. Absol, like him a lot. Um, let's see, Mac Miller would have been a great one. I was a big fan. That sucked when he passed.
Yeah, Mac
Um,
Miller was like my whole childhood, really, basically.
yeah, yeah. Same here. Like while I was in the Army, I was listening to Mac. I was like, someday I'm gonna be out there doing this music thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, yeah. I'd say like Kendrick Lamar would probably have to be the number one, just because I feel like he never has a wasted track. Like everything
hmm
is always just crazy.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, that's all that comes to mind for now. I mean, doing something with the Chili Peppers would be sick, but I don't know what capacity.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's true. That's true. That's true. Okay, that's
They're
that's a
they're
good.
still touring.
That's good. That's good. Oh,
Yeah,
what
thanks.
about so? So it seems like you like more of like so when you were rapping, like was your rapping style more of like an introspective, lyrical type of content that you would be rapping about? Like,
Yeah, that's for the most part. We had a couple like, upbeat kind of wild songs. Like I said, more like the Beastie Boys kind of
mm,
wild stuff. But I'd say like 75%. Yeah, it's like telling stories. Like a lot of our songs came from real feelings that we had that we wanted to speak about. And when we were first making the music, we were never thinking like, oh, we're gonna put this out, we're gonna do this and that. It was just like we got off work and we locked in the studio. Like we had an extra bedroom in the house and we just turned it in the studio and we were just, making what came about. So yeah, I really like hearing the introspective stuff. I tend to like chiller beats too, more low key, like
yeah.
vibey, late night driving kind of vibes.
Mm.
So yeah, I like hearing some truth, something you can be like, oh, this is some real shit.
Do you like Logic?
Yeah. I can't say I've listened to him a lot recently, but I like Logic a lot. And I'd say another one that I like is Russ too. He's got some really cool
Mhm.
stuff. I like watching his come up.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Logic's an amazing rapper. I mean, he's crazy how fast he does on some of those stuff. So.
Yeah, and another guy that was like part of my childhood too. Logic. Logic was definitely one of them.
Yeah.
It is a
Logic, that
bandwagon to
whole
kind of
like
hate on it.
vlog era. Yeah. I mean, um, Dizzy Wright's a good one.
Okay.
Hobson.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, he's got some really cool stuff. Like I like his. He's got a really unique perspective and how he talks on things. And
How
I've
about
always
Tech
liked his.
Nine?
Oh yeah, dude. Yeah, of course, Tech Nine. He's amazing.
One thing I do respect about Tech Nine is he does stay true to his fan base and audience, and he still makes a lot of money touring. I think he was on like a Forbes list or something. He was like one of the highest earners, like that's independent. I don't know if he's independent. I think he might be, but that I really respect too with Tech Nine.
Yeah, I think he has his own label, or he's on the same label as like Yellow Wolf. I can
Mm,
picture like the brand. It's like some like snake or something. I'm
yeah.
blanking on it, but yeah, he has such a cult following, and I mean, I'm surprised that he hasn't had more radio stuff either. Like, I really can't even think of a radio record off the top of my head that he's had. But
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, he's one of those where like I have major respect for the guys that like really treat the craft with, that much respect. I mean, they just they're on
Mhm.
another level. There's actually an artist that I work with. He's based out here of South Florida. Not really like managing him, but I've helped like line up some opportunities, a couple podcasts for him, and like helped him with his Instagram growth. His name is For Showtime, and he's literally on that level as Tech Nine. I mean, that's a lot to say, but
Mm.
if you check out his stuff, like he has put so many hours, 10,000 hours into the craft for sure. So like
Mm.
finding him on Instagram, I was like, dude, we got to work together. I got to send you beats. Like, let me help you out. And yeah, I'm big on the fast rappers for sure.
Okay, that's dope. That's dope. All right. I mean, me, I like a different variety of rap. Like like I the different genres as it is. I listen to R&B, classical rock, hip hop. I used to listen to metal a lot when
Nice.
I was in high school, but kind of grew out
Okay.
of that a little bit. Um, so like I always I like different sounds. Like there's this one artist that I really like that his sound like out of the younger artists that I've listened to. I mean, I'm 26. I'm still relatively young, but to a lot of these kids,
Yeah.
that's really old. To these kids.
It feels like it, yeah.
Yeah. But there's this one guy named Tizo Touchdown. I don't know if you've heard of him.
No, I haven't.
Yeah, Tizo Touchdown. He's like he was on Utopia, Travis Scott's album. He's
Okay.
recently on Drake's album, but before that, working with Tyler the Creator a lot. But his sound, it's like a mixture. He does alternative, but it's has elements of like R&B and rap. So it just sounds so different compared to all the younger artists that I listen to, that at least. And he's like really, really good.
Okay, nice.
I dig him. You should probably look into him. You might like him.
Well, what was his name? I'm gonna write down.
Tizo Touchdown. Teezo and then touchdown.
Got it. Cool. Yeah, I'm gonna look him up.
Yeah.
Nice.
really, really good. Because I was listening to his album too. I was like, wow, like a lot of these songs, like there isn't one song that sounds the same, but there's different elements of like the genres that I listen to that like kind of like fuse together and make this like one unique sound. It's like I'm like, wow, it's crazy, you
I
know.
like
But
that. That sounds cool. Yeah, I like when they're pulling in other influences. That reminds me like of X. Like I liked a lot of his stuff where he was using
mhm.
like really unique scales in his music and really weird keys and all that. Like that stuff's really
Yeah,
cool and people really dive deep in the music.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, and I also think that's one thing too that I've noticed about music nowadays. I feel like there's like a big lack of creativity too. Um, not to say that, because I hear a lot of artists that like to sample a lot of these older rap songs that we, tend to love and enjoy, and there's nothing wrong with that. But
No, for
some of
sure.
them, they kind of sound like they're just like cheap ripoffs of it. It's like I've heard a lot. I don't want to name anyone specifically, but it's just a lot of songs where it's like the sample, it's not, you didn't do it
The
justice.
sample like is almost still the song, like
Exactly.
where
Yeah.
it's like the sample is still the hook. And
Yeah.
yeah, won't name any names either, but I can think of a few off the top of my head that I've been like, man, this really took off as this.
Yeah.
But okay.
That's why I'm like,
But
I don't. It might just be something that's going on with this year, as I feel like this year just musically hasn't been the best across the board. But as far as like the mainstream, from a mainstream aspect, obviously there's plenty of great music out there. You just got to look for it. Um,
exactly. And you find some real gems when you like find the artists that aren't quite as big, but they're just focused on music. And
yeah.
yeah, what'd you think about the new Drake album?
Yeah, I am a big Drake fan. Well, I grew up on Kanye. I got a college dropout. It was the first album that I had.
Oh, nice, man. That's legit. I forgot for the Mount Rushmore producers, Kanye. He's got to be on there too.
Whenever I ask
Can't believe
people
I
like their
forgot to
favorite
mention
producers,
Kanye.
they always forget Kanye. So
Dude, we gotta give him his flowers, man. Yeah, and
yeah.
he's another artist too. Like I've always loved Kanye, and he's such a like an artist and just how he lives and approaches the world, like not just music,
Mhm.
and that's really cool to me. But yeah, that's cool. You have that vinyl, man.
Yeah. I
Nice,
collect a lot of vinyls. That's my thing. So yeah.
nice. Yeah,
Um,
something real about it.
yeah. So yeah. So as far as like the creativity and stuff, like that's something that I've noticed this year. I don't know what you think about uh music this year. Like, do you think there's a
Yeah,
lack
I
of
mean,
creativity, or people just got to look for the real music or the
I feel like you just have to look for it. Like Drake, for example, has given us like an amazing run. Like his discography is nuts, and like you can't deny that there's just like so many hits and so many great albums, and like maybe he's going to continue to evolve and continue to put out stuff. Like I hope he does. It's also hard to continue to reinvent yourself like every single album.
That's true.
And there are going to be people that come out with like one or two albums, and that is what it is. And maybe they don't have a super long career, but it can be a great piece of work. So there's definitely that too. I see a lot of Latin artists at our studio, and the reggae tone is like really getting bigger, and especially here in Miami, of course.
Mm.
And I think these guys are getting really creative with what they're doing. I love what Bad Bunny's doing. I think he does a really good job at blending that like typical reggae tone beat, like
Yeah.
but like giving more of like a smooth swing to it.
Hmm.
And so I think the Latin guys are just going to keep getting bigger. I think that their
Hmm.
sound is getting more and more commercial, and it's really blending everything. It's really like a worldly sound. So that's
Hmm.
that's where I'm kind of like, if I had to bet on a certain subgenre, I'd say like these guys are going to go to the next level.
Definitely. I think even with Afro beats, I think Afro beats is headed in that same direction. There's this artist that, and I wasn't really a big fan of Afrobeat. Like I'm Nigerian, I'm
Okay.
Nigerian American, but I wasn't really a big fan of Afrobeats. But there was this artist that kind of made me, appreciate it to a certain extent. How creative he was, I kind of viewed him kind of like in the Tizo touchdown lane, where
Okay.
he's doing a genre, but his sound kind of sounds more of like a world. It's very genre bending. It's an artist named Rema. I don't know if you've heard of him. He did a song with Selena Gomez.
No. Okay. Rema. Check it out.
Rema. Yeah, I think he's one of those guys where it's kind of like he's an alien almost. Like you can't really pinpoint what kind of artist he is because he can do Afro beats, he can do rap, he can do world type of R&B. So I think Afro beats too, along with reggaeton. I think it's definitely. I think I heard something about labels actually putting an emphasis on signing artists like more Afro beats and reggaeton artists too. I think that was out there. I think.
I believe it. Yeah, because I mean the Latin market and the Africa market are huge, and I even really feel like the Africa market is like really untapped, and that's a huge subset of people that are listening to music. And a lot of our stuff is really like geared towards Americans, at least like American hip hop. But there's a whole world out there,
Yeah, definitely, bro. So, yeah, those would be the two artists I would suggest to anyone. Even like I put my mom onto them, and she's like, "Oh wow,
nice." Well, I'm excited to check him out. Yeah, Tizo, Touchdown, and Rema. I'm gonna give him a listen.
Yeah,
I need to dive more into Afro beats, anyways. I can't say I've listened to too much. So,
well, cool. Yeah. I wasn't either. Before I heard him for the first time, like back in 2019, like I was like, "Wow, who's this?" Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Answers keep coming to me of your earlier questions. Another artist I want to work with is Kid Cudi. That'd be another all-time.
Kid Cudi. Okay, so you're a big Kid Cudi fan.
Yeah, because like he has all the stuff I'm talking about. It's like the slower, chill, introspective, late night kind of vibe, and I mean, Day and Night obviously is like one of the best tracks. It's an awesome one.
I like Kid Cudi. I like Kid Cudi. My friend I do the podcast with, DK, a Kid Cudi fan too as well. And I appreciate Kid Cudi as an artist. Obviously, can't deny Man on the Moon 1. That project
for sure. Yeah, the whole project is great.
But do you feel like most Kid Cudi fans kind of like overrate him, like his legacy, not him as an artist, but like his legacy or his discography compared to a lot of the artists that we have now?
Yeah, I mean,
or do you think they kind of just base it off of, oh, he's influential, so that alone should be the reason why you think he should be in that top tier, like the J. Cole's, the Kendricks, stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like I listened to like Man on the Moon 1 and 2, and like Erase Me came from that, and I think he had like a couple really hard hitting projects that like set him up for life pretty much. So I see why people could feel that way, that he's just like instantly like a legend, whatever. But yeah, I think why people are so attached to him is because he came out really different than everybody at the time. You had Jay-Z and J. Cole and Kanye and like some of these other guys like that were doing more of like a hard rap type thing, the 50 Cent era. And then Kid Cudi came in with like tight jeans and be like, I'm hanging out in the attic looking at the stars on my wall, like my ceiling and stuff, like this real like trippy, like a whole other direction. So I feel like if you didn't vibe with that like harder type of rap, then like Kid Cudi was for you, because he wasn't like cookie cutter at all. He was like totally his own style, everything. But yeah, I mean, overrated, I don't want to say that, but I see the argument.
Okay.
In terms of like the discography.
Yeah. Okay. That's fair. Because DK, he's just so adamant about like, oh, Kid Cudi, like he gave Travis Scott his name. Like, how dare you disrespect Kid Cudi? Like, all right, brother, whatever you say. Okay. Yeah,
I mean, honestly, I don't even know. Is he putting out like music frequently nowadays?
I saw something on Twitter about him. I think he was supposed to drop this year, but he delayed it until early next year. I think it was Insano or Insano, something like that.
He's done a lot of features over the past few years, but I can't really like name his recent projects. One of my favorite things from him is his Tim Westwood freestyle, like way back, probably like 2011 or 10 even. Like just the way he flows, like it's just, you can tell it's purely off the top. It's not some verse from a track that he brought in. Like that's what I love to see. So
yeah. Oh, I'm gonna check that out actually. Kid Cudi, Westwood. I didn't even know he did like a Tim Westwood freestyle.
Yeah, definitely worth it, man.
Okay.
Tim Westwood TV.
Tim Westwood TV.
He's so funny, man. Like, yeah, man. The explosions.
He's like what is it? He's like the Funk Flex of like the UK, or like, you know.
Yeah, he is. He definitely is. He's hilarious, so man. Like he's like the whitest of white guys, like interviewing rappers and stuff.
He just drops that bomb every like 2 seconds, just like Flex.
It's like, pow, we got another one in here. So good.
So, like the last thing I would ask would be, you know, I always ask this at the end. So where do you see yourself, like a year from now? I hate to ask people like, you know, 2 or 3 years from now, because it's like you never really know. But like maybe next year, where do you see yourself? Just not even musically, just as a person, where do you see yourself?
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, hard to say. Like, obviously, I'm going really hard in production and engineering. Just want to continue to get more tied in with the studio at Rebel 11. Continue to build my clientele there. I mean, we get some amazing artists that come through, and you know, I'd like to start to get some like credits on some much bigger records over this next year. Like, definitely had a lot of shots with some of the collabs that I've done in terms of like production. And yeah, I mean, I'd like to start to get some Billboard tracks, you know, like when I got out of the Army for like a year, I was really focusing on placement. And then I realized like, I've got to pay the bills. I've got to make things happen. Like I can't just be sending off tracks and hoping something lands. Like I've got to figure out what I can do today to provide value for artists so I can make a living here. And now that I've really run that road, and you know, I don't know if you know, I also help a lot of artists with their marketing, and that's like half of my business is what I do. So like I'm consulting them, I'm coaching them on the release strategies. So I want to continue to build that side of my business. You know, over the past like 2 years, I've had like 60, 70 clients that I've really been like tied in with, working with regularly. And I want to continue to do that because it's really gratifying to like see an artist at one stage and then be able to take them to the next phase of their career. Like a couple of guys I've worked with, like under 2,000 followers, and now they're performing at festivals and they've got over 10, 15K, a couple 100,000 monthly listeners, stuff like that. So that's pretty cool to see that process. So I'm kind of divided between like, I still want to keep pushing things with recording and engineering and production. At the same time, I want to keep like helping more artists. I think that's really like what I love doing. And I mean, as a producer engineer, you're also helping artists. So
yeah,
long answer, but yeah, just continue to push and continue to really help more artists like achieve their dreams.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's dope. That's dope. So you do like consulting too?
Yeah. So I've got a team out here, and you know, we basically have all the same tools that a record label has. You know, everything from Instagram promotion. We have all the press partnerships. I actually myself write for Hip Hop Today. That's a publication that we created ourselves. And so yeah, you know, we start usually depending on the artist or where they're at, but we help them build up their Instagram engagement and get them seen by more people. And then we start helping them with their Spotify, their YouTube, like really building out like a full on campaign for people. And then I'm coaching them on what content's performing well, like, you know, all the nitty gritty of what does well on Instagram, and, you know, really just how to build an audience and keep people engaged.
Okay. That's cool. Is there like a name for your company, or is it?
We stay pretty low key because we only work with artists that we reach out to directly. We see that they'd be a good fit for us. We don't advertise whatsoever. Like everything we do is like word of mouth, you know, by a couple of our teammates. And yeah, we keep it pretty close to the vest. But you know, we've got a couple NDAs with some bigger artists that we've been able to help out, and it's been a fun journey for sure.
Okay. That's cool, man. Well, I hope everything goes well. You know what I'm saying?
Thank you, bro.
Yeah.
You know, I'm excited to check out your single. Would you say November 1st?
Yeah, November 1st. It's called 11, featuring my guy Freddie Jones. Dropping November 1st. You know what I'm saying? I'll definitely promote that and stuff on that.
Definitely be tuning in. Yeah. Awesome, Alex. Well, thanks for the call, man. Glad we got to connect.
Yeah, definitely, bro. You should let the people know where to find you. Twitter, Instagram,
Yeah, for sure. Everything is at the Tyler August. Spotify, Tyler August, YouTube, Tyler August. Hit me up on Instagram. You guys have any questions? You want beats, mixing and mastering, any help marketing, we got you. So just hit me up. Happy to connect.
All right. No doubt. I appreciate you coming on, bro.
Yeah, man. Thanks a lot. Let's definitely keep in touch.
Definitely.
All right, Alex. Have a good one, man.